there's no point in doing Only the Strong without Mark as the lead. So
Yeah.
we're not even entertaining anybody else.
Hey guys, welcome to part 4 of my interview with Luis Esteban, co-writer of Only the Strong. This video, we're going to talk about the future of Only the Strong. Is there going to be a sequel? Maybe. We'll talk about a couple ideas related to that and more. But anyway, I'm going to make a whole playlist, Only the Strong playlist. You're going to see all the interview parts with Luis Esteban. Also, there's a video I did with Sheldon Lettich before, and then a video I did on Mark Dacascos. So all your Only the Strong related things, make sure to check out the playlist. I'll link it in the description below. Anyway, if you like this kind of content, please help support the channel by hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing the video. The future of Only the Strong. Let's talk about it, because there's a couple of different things related to the future of this film.
Right.
You may release it on a major streaming network, right?
That's what we're aiming for. We are launching a campaign to bring together the rights holders of the movie and have the film remastered. Right, like 4K, Dolby Atmos, all of that stuff. Have the film remastered, just to get it out there again. People who enjoyed it when they first saw it, and a whole new audience, to introduce it to a whole new audience of people. And then, based on the reception of that, then absolutely, there's no reason why not to do a sequel. Look at Cobra Kai, right? I mean, not that Only the Strong was ever in the same level that the Karate Kid was. I mean, that was a phenomenal, that movie.
Yeah, that went super mainstream,
and for good reason. I mean, again, that was a film that had martial arts, but the filmmakers knew that they really were telling a father and son story with Miyagi, and
great movies transcend like the niche genre. Like, if you're into martial arts films, okay, you can watch Karate Kid, you can watch Only the Strong, you can watch other movies, but see, movies like this are like go beyond that.
Right.
And Only the Strong, I don't know how big of a movie it was. Like, I just know when it came out and I was in middle school, there's another kid saying, hey, you love Bloodsport. There's a new martial arts film that's better than Bloodsport. It's the best martial arts film ever. So obviously I got to watch it. Later on, I found out, hey, this is from the same guy that, helped create Bloodsport and Lionheart. I'm like, holy crap, this guy is amazing. Obviously Sheldon Lettich. It's like, here's another martial arts film. And so I think it didn't go as mainstream as the Karate Kid, but definitely anybody involved in the martial arts world is very fond of it. I always refer to it as one of the best martial arts films of all time, especially in the 90s, which is like the golden day, 80s, 90s, golden day of martial arts films. So this film, I think, now re-released, which we never even had Blu-ray release, so I'm glad it's getting like the 4K treatment, etc. I think because it holds up so well, is going to have a bigger audience now than it ever did in the 90s. Like, I think it's really going to explode with like a younger generation watching this. And like I mentioned, it holds up so well, and it's so much more than just a martial arts films with some fights. It's so much more than that. It's like at the level with the Karate Kid, where you got these different life lessons and you could kind of see the world a little differently. So I think it's going to have a bigger life now than it ever did.
Well, your lips to God's ears, as they say. We'll see. There's no reason for it to not be remastered and released, the original, because you're absolutely right. There are certain moments, like if you play an exercise, go on YouTube and just watch clips of martial arts movies, even well-received martial arts movies, and then randomly play a clip from Only the Strong. Immediately, I think you're hit with, there's something different about this movie, right? The look, the feel. It wasn't a major budgeted film, but it also had something of a budget.
The unfortunate thing with a lot of martial art films is because they are lower budget, they don't have good lighting, they don't have good cinematography. Whereas, Only the Strong, great story aside, like you got real filmmakers. Like, I don't know who the cinematographer was, but it's beautifully lit, it's beautifully framed, shot, etc. Who was it?
Ed Pei.
Oh, okay. So it's a real movie, because honestly, the expectations for just a martial arts movie are really low. Bad acting, bad lighting, bad whatever. Hopefully you at least have decent fights. So Only the Strong is a real movie, right?
Sheldon knew when to move the camera and when to have it be still. Sheldon and Ed Pei the cinematographer, they knew that, a good story can suffer from showing off with the camera, right? Or showing off with choreography, right? Or showing off with any single element. You have to, this is the importance of a director, and a good director of photography. They have to work very, very well together. When to have things moving, when they should move. Is it serving the story? Everything has to be about serving the story and serving this overall feeling that you want the movie to have. Like the colors and only the strong. None of that stuff is by accident. None of it.
Yeah, it's real art, and people really got to like the power of film, like it works at a subconscious level,
Yeah.
like that you may not realize, but there's something in you as just a human. You do realize, even if you can't articulate it and pinpoint it, but there's something magical of why it's like this scene in this film just works, and it's working on multiple layers. A good filmmaker who understands the language of film can do that, even if an audience member can't like pinpoint it, but they get it. They just understand this is good, and that's enough.
Absolutely. To your point, having the field trip where we were in school and the school environment, and then we go out to the beach, right? It's one of the reasons for Miami too, because the colors in Miami, to your point, are very vibrant. I mean, it's even then. This was right after Hurricane Andrew, so the city was recuperating from a bad natural disaster, and yet it was this vibrant city. The tone of the sky, having water, going from the city, from the school environment to this beach.
Wow, look at this place.
And then coming back, and it's like, oh, there's so very little, all of these things were very carefully thought out, like based on color, what your experience is going to be at a certain time. What you see in Only the Strong is people who really care about their craft, and the film had a lot of layers to it that we couldn't really explore. I mean, I've already talked about so much more, like the philosophy and the sociology of these people and these students and all of us in general. That's what we were exploring. The military, what happens in the military, what do you do after the military? That's a big issue. And not dealing specifically with PTSD, which is a very real, problem.
What happened to you down there?
And I don't see how that can be avoided. The only thing we can do is figure out ways to help treat people with PTSD. Anybody who serves in I'm not going to go into a big soapbox about this, but it is important. If you serve in any capacity, police officer, firefighter, a first responder of any kind.
Yeah, I was going to say firefighters see that. My wife actually sees it working as a well, she does a few things in the hospital. I mean, she's doing MRI now, but she's a radiology tech. So she sees people at their worst when they're all mangled up from a car accident, when they got shot in the head. She sees them at their absolute worst because the doctors need to know what to fix. And she describes certain things, especially working in the hospitals in LA, which I'm not going to say on the channel, but it's like, that's what you see in war, from gang initiation, people get cut up with machetes, etc. But it's like, I could see her possibly having PTSD. I don't think she does, but from what she's experienced, she sees stuff you're not supposed to see, basically.
That's right. Stuff that the rest of us are not exposed to. For the few really fortunate ones, will never see that sort of thing. Like imagine being a coroner or what your wife does. These things leave an impression on you, and it's not just military. It's like I said, it's first responders. It's what your wife does. Anybody who works in a hospital, in a trauma department, or the ER, or social workers, child services. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. There's a lot that will never ever completely solve. We were speaking about the homeless, things like that. Sheldon had some of this even in Lionheart. The Harrison character, who wasn't quite a sidekick to Jean-Claude's character, but the two of them had the most screen time together. it's heartbreaking. A lot of that stuff is heartbreaking, you know. And when you look at those things again with that in mind, there were certain shots, there were certain moments that Sheldon took in Lionheart, where you can see that they're all thinking, you know, about these issues. And that's what you also see in Only the Strong. That's what we were getting at, is the Only the Strong is one of these films that have remastered and put out there again, because it didn't focus exclusively on the most lethal fighting system in the world, but focused on universal themes. Yeah. I think it can hold up. The question is whether people will be too cynical or skeptical about, you know, what appears to be a very, very benign and kind lead, you know, as Mark portrayed him in the film. You know, we didn't go for the Steven Seagal badass. We didn't go for, you know, hard target.
Do you guys have like any solid ideas for the potential sequel to Only the Strong?
Yeah, quite a few. Just like Only the Strong, you know, there's any number of things that you start off with and then you end up with. The tricky part with Only the Strong, number one, you know, for me, I try to be responsible. It's like this stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of effort to do well. So let's make sure, if we're going to do this, that there's a reason for it. It has to be justified, right? Like my whole life has not been about doing a sequel to Only the Strong. I felt like we did well. People have enjoyed it. I wish it would have performed better, not so, because we just really were not given the attention. And Sheldon knows more about why than I do, because he was in.
There's a lot of different factors.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors that went into why. I moved on from there. I continued my journey in filmmaking, and I still do. I've had a few conversations with Mark and Mestre Amen and other people unrelated to them about what we could do with Only the Strong. And it's tricky because it was never designed to be a franchise movie, you know, like a John Wick or The Matrix or anything like that. Only the Strong was really a moment in time, and we ended it that way. You know,
we got closure, no doubt, at the end of
closure.
Yeah.
So that to me has been, aside from the rights owners and who's willing to do what and all of that, if the remastered version of Only the Strong performs really well, and it has to perform well, and by that I mean views, right? Now everything is based upon.
Oh yeah. Speaking of which, anybody watching this video has to watch it and has to share it and tell other people to watch it. Not just because it's a good movie, but to help get the other one made. But they're going to enjoy it regardless, so they have to watch. Actually, views.
Your subscribers are instrumental.
Oh yeah. Well, put it on reloop, man. On the streaming network. Just keep relooping it. You know, I have it playing. I can have it playing right now when we're doing this interview, for example. Hey man, play it again. Let's get this thing going.
Play it on the laptop. Play it on the desktop. Play it on the phone.
It's going to help the campaign. We need this thing.
There has to be a very vocal, active reaction from people who enjoy Only the Strong, past and present, near future. And then we'll figure out an appropriate sequel that's based in the same world of Only the Strong. And by that world, I mean the objectives of Mark Dacascos' character. It won't be more of the same, because that's like not giving to the audience. You know, there'll be enough, but there'll be new things. We have to pay attention to what the world is now, right? No, we're not going to have a washed up, boozed out Mark Dacascos character at the beginning. Cobra Kai did that already with one of the characters, right? But not the Ralph Macchio character. It was very interesting what they did. Ralph Macchio was a successful car dealership owner.
Yeah, and then Johnny
Nemesis was this washed up, boozed out guy, and that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to do either of those. We have to figure something else out. That's the challenge. I don't know what it'll be, but we have discussed a lot of different.
Yeah, there's a lot of different areas to go with it. You know, with obviously, I would think, and I would hope Dacascos would be the lead.
He will be the lead.
There's a lot of different directions you could go with his character and some of even like his students, for example.
There's no reason to do it without Mark, honestly.
Yeah, sure.
That's not just me as Mark's friend. Mark and I don't speak on a daily basis. We catch up with each other, right, at moments, and we're very grateful for having known each other. This was Mark's first major studio picture, as it was mine, and it launched or improved our filmmaking journeys.
Sure.
Right. So we're very, very fond of Only the Strong. The pressure on us is to do something that will at least be as well received as the original, at least. From there, move on. And what I mean by that is, again, there's no point in doing Only the Strong without Mark as the lead. So
yeah,
we're not even entertaining anybody else. The issue becomes then, what is he confronting this time, 30 years after the fact, right? Like, now what? What are we dealing with? And the logical conclusion seems to be, let's study what could have happened to his students. Seems to be the logical conclusion, because that's what the whole film was really about to begin with. It's like, we're helping others, not building up the Luis Stevens characters. Like, this is supposed to help these students. So me personally, I'm always interested in what has life dealt people over the course of their lives.
sure.
10 years after, 20, in this case, 30 years after. I'm always interested in family and friends who I haven't spoken with in a while. It's like, how has life treated you? How have you responded to the challenges of life? So that seems to me, anyway, to be the honest approach to a sequel. Not, can we outdo ourselves with combat? That's always going to be a part of it, because yes, martial artists love to see combat. Why wouldn't you, right? You don't do Gladiator unless you're going to show some gladiatorial fights. It's a film about a gladiator. So, but there still has to be something that gives to the audience, something that you can walk away with, something that helps you with your own life.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think movies, some are, but they should strive to be more than entertainment. So
yeah,
I've always seen Only the Strong as, I told you earlier, it's I think it's one of the best martial arts films, one of the best, especially in that era. But I think Only the Strong is just a great movie. Not just put in that little box of like, oh, it's a great martial arts movie. No, it's a great movie. Just like Rocky is a great movie. Rocky is not a great boxing movie. Yes, right. Rocky's a great boxing movie, but Rocky is just a great movie. That's right. And that's what's important. And that's what's good about Only the Strong. Now, a couple other things I'll say, it could be kind of cool if they had like a 30-year high school reunion where they all kind of met up, and maybe one of the kids, he's older now. I don't know. He gets involved in something, in trouble, and maybe Mark helps him somehow. But I'll tell you why you're guaranteed to already have a bigger audience. Obviously, I could tell your passion. You're not going to make a movie just to make a movie. It's going to have a meaningful message, and it's going to be a quality film if, hopefully it gets made. But see, you're going to have people like me who grew up watching it. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't have kids myself, but a lot of people my age, I don't know, 80% probably do. So automatically you got me, people like me who grew up watching it, introducing it to their kids. So already your audience is like 80% bigger off the bat. Yeah. And then you're going to get people, who are my age or different ages or whatever. You're just going to get like a younger audience. So you're going to get kids whose parents may not even be aware of the film. They're going to be introduced to it. So automatically you got like minimum 3 times the audience, minimum, just right out the gate. I don't see how this thing can't be successful.
My daughter Nastasia says the same thing. If what you're saying becomes a reality and people respond well to Only the Strong being remastered and put out there in an appropriate platform, you will be seeing a reunion conversation with all of us. You will be seeing a little bit more about the history of Capoeira. You will be hearing a little bit more about how the film came about. Although I really haven't kept much from you. I think Sheldon's book is going to get into more detail.
We already got an early, like bonus features, basically that you'll I'm sure talk about later on the Blu-ray release.
That's
but
right.
We got this early now here.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of good that can come out of it. I was always, there's a lot of good. It's really, it has to stay that way. All of us have to do that film for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And those right reasons are, hey, let's explore the world today. How is it? What can we do to contribute towards some goodness in that world? that has to be the reason. I think that's the people that have responded to the film. I think they just, that's what they derive from it. It makes them feel good. Um, that's one of the challenges for today. I don't know if we've become such a cynical society that just would not work. I don't know. I really, really don't know. So a lot of the factors that go into the making of a sequel are really going to be based upon the reaction to.
Oh, sure. And
the remaster.
there's going to be a lot of pressure, positive pressure, because our expectations are so high, right?
Yeah, you guys
As
know
delivered in the 90s, we know you could deliver again. So we got really high expectations.
It's a good challenge to have. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor. It's definitely worthwhile. I just want to make sure that we're all doing it for the right reasons. You know,
Oh, of
Mark,
course.
Sheldon, Amen. Amen is somebody that would be wonderful to learn more about, because that guy, you know, I know people call him Mestre Amen. I was just very impressed. Every time that I saw Amen, Mestre Amen, I smiled, because there was just something about him that made you smile.
Probably like he seems like a really happy, positive guy, and I'm sure that radiates off of him. So you know those kind of people you run into in life, you're like, oh, I'm in a better mood because this dude's here. You know?
Yeah, they walk into a room and you're just like, there's just this positivity about him.
Yeah,
right? And it's not rehearsed, it's not scripted. There are people that they come into your life and they just bring warmth, or they bring positivity, or they bring strength into your life. Amen is one of those guys.
Is there like a projected release date?
Not yet, no, because we've just begun.
Okay.
These days, it's not that difficult. I mean, it's not hard. All streaming platforms, the world has changed, right? In the world of purely theatrical release, you only had but so many opportunities,
Sure.
so many films that can be released, just by the physical nature of getting a 35 millimeter release print and copies to go to the movie theaters. In the digital world, and especially in the streaming world, we could have this conversation today, and next month,
It could be out.
we streaming it.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't want it to happen that fast, because there is a new audience that we also want to try to reach. So I think it would benefit from some preliminary material going out. Who is Mark Dacascos, for people who don't know who he is? Martial arts and non-martial artists alike. Who is Sheldon Lettich? What is Lionheart? What is Double Impact? Who is this guy? Who is Mestre Amen? What worlds do these things come from? I think there's a lot to be said for understanding the people behind the film, right? Understanding the film as a mini phenomenon, or at least as a mini influence in people's lives. And then you have some context for the film being released. And I think it'll be appreciated more. So what I mean by that is, this reunion thing would be good. Having Mark, Mestre Amen, Sheldon, sure, me, on your channel, these are all things that help. And people speak about it, good or bad, and about the people who put it together, and about the events that led to the making of the film and the release of the film. Conversation like that, if it's active enough in today's world, people do pay attention. YouTube has grown into quite a worldwide venue, that there are people in major agencies and major studios whose only or primary job is to see what's happening on YouTube.
Oh, I don't doubt it. It's such a popular platform, man. Yeah. And it's crazy, just with my channel, the people I've been able to attract somehow and meet, Sheldon Lettich, all kinds of people, which is funny, because it's not like I don't go out there and try to look everybody up and just email them. It's usually, for whatever reason, and I consider myself blessed, it's like I've attracted people in some way where somebody knows somebody, and hey, I could get you this guy, hey, I could get you that guy. It's like, well, cool, you make my life and job a lot easier.
What's refreshing about what you're doing, and by the way, congratulations on really one of the better YouTube experiences that I've had. Let me put it that way.
Oh, thank you.
I don't mean this interview, I mean like just what you do, the content, the people. I just have not been very happy with the martial arts world for a very long time, because it's supposed to be about helping, Bushido versus Budo for the Japanese arts. there's been too much animosity. There's been too much competition is good in sports.
Sure.
It's very good. You know,
in sports, yeah.
helps you to reach new levels of expertise and mastery and that sort of thing. It's who we are as human beings, whether it's in sports or academia, whatever. Competition in that aspect is good. What's not healthy is, you know, the destructive nature of this guy's for real, that guy's not for real. My, you know, martial art is better than your martial art, or you know, that's like, it's very childish.
It is. And there's a reason why I even made a post a little bit ago on Facebook. It's like, let's remember the real reason we took martial arts, because all these people talk about frauds or like fake ranks and all this stuff. It's like, look, why did you train? Is it to get a rank, or is it for self-improvement and to get the actual skills? Who cares if you have a piece of paper that says you're a 10th degree? Yeah. Are you, like, can you actually move good? You know, like, can you actually do the techniques? Like, isn't that more important than what a piece of paper says? It's like a belt, you know, like Mr. Miyagi. Like, what does it matter? It can hold your pants up. It doesn't matter anything in a lot of ways in the martial arts world. And there's one more point I'd like to make, which I pride myself on, that I can get people who don't like get along. Like, for example, like I'm happy to have communications with Sheldon, but very happy to also have them with Frank Dukes or other people like, you know, Sifu Alan Goldberg, who's an amazing guy, but him and Dukes, we'll just say they're not the best of friends. But I get to be like Sweden. I'm friendly with everybody, you know.
That's actually what I've enjoyed about your channel, is that you're allowing different sides of the unfortunately argument, in the negative connotation of the word. Argue is good if you eventually reach a mutual understanding.
I've been trying to connect these people in some way. Now that's a tall order, but I'll try my best. But either way, I like to be friendly with all the different camps.
That's very admirable. It really is, because at the end of the day, Frank Dukes is a human being who's dedicated himself to a walk in life. Do I wish he wouldn't have said the few things that I have some disagreement with? Absolutely. But, you know, some things are really just not worth doing. Like, constant animosity is not good. Like, it would be great if somehow through your efforts and your interviews, for both of those guys, not to have a, you know, their own virtual kumite, you know, knocking each other out, but you know, a meeting of the minds somehow. I don't think there's any good that can come from just ongoing animosity. There's no good to that.
Leave him alone, man. He's had enough. Other side, but he's had enough, man. The enemy deserves no mercy. Right. You're crazy, man.